The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, remembering former MP, analyst, and noted accountant Philip Galanis. Tonight, we look at the last time he appeared on Beyond the Headlines and also his many contributions to nation building. Also tonight, the nation still reeling at the news of the 8-year-old boy who allegedly hung himself. We talk more about that tonight. And get this, a 71-year-old fisherman is before the courts for hiring a foreigner to be his fishing mate. The 71-year-old is facing a possible $250,000 fine and 4 years in jail. What do you think about that? Well, we discussed the issue tonight. This is Beyond the Headlines, Week in Review Fridays. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, he was a key figure in the Progressive Liberal Party, a former member of Parliament, and in recent time, an objective voice in his editorial opinion piece. He also became a sought-after voice for perspectives and analysis on topical issues. Tonight, the nation remembers Philip Galanis, who passed away at his home early this morning. Here was Galanis on this show about a year ago. Gentlemen, before we wrap up, I want to give each of you an opportunity to analyze the entire sort of campaign, election, outcome. But I want to ask you this. The COI got a total of 303 votes. Did that factor in? Because you heard Theo and some of his analysis, and people feel as though the DNA put a dent, and it did, I think, in one of the election, I think 2012. But what difference does this make?
Absolutely none. I mean, I take my hat off to Mr. Bain because he's polled another 100 more votes than was polled in the general election. There were 192 votes polled for the COI.
But don't you see that as growth?
I see that as growth. That's 50% growth, okay? But I don't think it made not an iota of a dent in the election because it hasn't affected, it wasn't a spoiler in the sense that it's twisted, it shifted the balance of power. I think what we're seeing here is people are recognizing, first of all, we are a two-party system. There are some people who also want to have their voices heard. We had many candidates in this race who got very few votes. They have a right to contest as they should. But at the end of the day, we are a two-party system. And the Bahamian people recognize that if you don't belong to one of the two major parties, unless you have a tremendous amount of momentum behind you, it's not likely you're going to be able to end up making a contribution to their lives. And so people voted for the PLP or the FNM because they recognize that is really where.
But I'll tell you this though, Phil and Desmond, they want the PLP or the FNM to begin to deliver.
No question.
To deliver for them.
No question.
That is the
to
point.
deliver
No question.
for them.
No question.
Well, former Deputy Prime Minister Desmond Bannister was also part of that by-election return special. That evening, he and Galanis discussed and called the results like a playbook. And this evening, he is here to remember the man who was more than a political colleague to him. And so good evening to you, former Deputy Prime Minister Bannister. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening, Shanique, and I want to offer my condolences to Phil's family, especially to Tonya. And I think to all Bahamians, we have not been celebrating the giants among us the way we should. And to me, Phil is one of those political giants, one of those role models that we should look at his life, look at what he's done, and try to emulate it as much as possible. So it's interesting that you had our last debate, that you showed how we were here together. Phil Galanis was a political opponent, and we debated each other so many times. But it was hard to debate him because he was always a voice of reason. He always had the facts, and the only thing that you could bring was to bring your own facts or to try to bring some emotion into it. But he was a guy who was always well prepared. You saw when we were here that night, he was just so well prepared. He knew exactly what he was going to say. He put his argument forward. He was quite an advocate for that. So he was the hardest guy in the world to debate. But he was
and never combative. That probably made it harder.
That was even difficult because you couldn't get him to respond to emotion. But he was a man who really loved our country. And I remember when Phil autographed this book for me. This is his book. It is a book that I recommend every Bahamian.
What is it called?
It's called All Things.
Hold it up right here for this camera.
Okay, it's called All Things Considered, and it is a wonderful book because he details writings throughout the years. So.
What stands out to you? Because I see in this book that he addresses everything that concerns Bahamian society today.
Everything. He started out, one of the major topics was doing the right thing. Lessons that you get from history. And then he went through history and he spoke about things like where have all the giants gone, the Bahamian giants, who they were in history, the roles they played in this country, where have they gone? When are we going to get some more? He spoke about what we need in a leader. Somebody who can communicate, someone who has the vision and who can carry through that vision for years to come. He spoke about what would be the ideal leader for the Bahamas. And then he spoke about things like what would be the ideal political campaign. He had a little topic on are we headed to being a dictatorship? Interesting things like that. He challenged leaders of the Bahamas to account. And he also wrote about campaign finance reform. So in many, many respects, he was ahead of his time thinking about where we're going. He had something on Sir Lyndon, something on Mr. Ingram. So this book, I believe, covers more of the topics that Bahamians would be interested in short chapters, very short chapters, very interesting
so
because
digestible.
They were his newspaper columns. But I believe that this is a historic book for the Bahamas, and I believe that sharing his thoughts was really, really important for all of us.
And it's something he did weekly, and he he gained a reputation for that.
Yes.
But he also did it so objectively, very middle of the road. If you didn't know him before and know of his political persuasion, you wouldn't guess it in many of his columns.
No, you wouldn't. And in fact, he told me that he got in some trouble over me one time because you may not know that Phil and I are related.
I was going to get to that.
Our roots are in Staniet Creek, Andros. And in the 2012 election, he actually wrote a column where he said that he thought I would win the election. Well, I didn't win the election. But, as a PLP, writing a column like that publicly, he told me that I got him in quite a bit of trouble. But he called it as he saw it, notwithstanding his political affiliation, notwithstanding his beliefs. Notwithstanding the fact that he and I disagreed on so many political issues, he called it as he saw it, and without favor.
How did you keep your relationship together? Being cousins. How did you keep that together? And of course, still going at each other politically.
I can't say that we spoke often, but when we did speak, we spoke about substantive issues that related to things that were relative to the country. And I remember when he was writing this book, he would keep me informed. When it was being published, he told me I was out of the country, told me he had a copy for me, and he called me and told me he had an autographed copy ready for me. And I was very grateful for it. I've been able to read this over and over again and read it in small bites and look at the vision that this man had for the Bahamas. And just hope that we have other young people who are going to read it we're going to look at what he has said and be able to learn from that, because this is quite a volume. Yes.
Yeah, so let's look at the fact that, you kind of touched on it, but Prime Minister Davis said, listen, not just the PLP, but the nation has lost a statesman, as you described him, someone who believed in, I guess, a better Bahamas, and how ideally it can look or be. Talk about that person you knew, and you shared some of what he wrote, but talk about that person you knew and spoke with and heard him share this vision, and even called you about the fact that this book sort of outlines that.
Well, quite obviously, it took him a considerable amount of time to be able to, every week, on a regular basis, putting these thoughts together, looking at what the topics would be that impacted Bahamians, and being able to share those nationally. I think that is the outstanding public service that he gave. And we always have to think about people who continue to give sacrifice for our country. And Phil is one of those people. He and I had to debate each other in the Senate at one stage. And he was never that kind of guy who would come at you with personal or emotional attacks. He was always the guy who would come to you with the figures, rationally debating it. And even though you were on the other side, it would be as though he was trying to persuade you to come to his point of view, to consider and understand what he was saying. And that type of logical debate is something I think that helps all of us to be able to watch him. And so being able to know him, being able to watch him, being able to learn from him, I think is a wonderful, wonderful lesson for someone like me.
How should the Bahamas remember Philip Galanis and all that he brought, the sort of different kind of politician that he was, even serving in an area like Angliston, for example, where it's a challenged area, but how he showed up there and served as MP. How should the Bahamas remember him?
Shanique, this is something I was trying to think of the other day. You have people in all spheres of this community who have given to this country. And when you go around the country, you don't see their names in significant places. And we have to really think about how we're going to be able to do that. Phil and I both have our roots in Staniot Creek, Andros. His family lived up the road. We had up the road and down the road.
Yeah, that's it.
And his family lived up the road down by my great-grandmother, and I lived with my grandmother, which was down the road. We built a bridge in Staniot Creek a few years ago when I was a Minister of Public Works. We didn't name that bridge after anyone. We have built other structures throughout the country, significant structures, that we can take the time to name them after Bahamians who have made a contribution to the country. One of the things we did, for example, in Staniot Creek, the old school, I went to a one-room school in Andros. But that school also had the Honorable Earl DeVoe as a graduate. That had Charles Thompson. So that little one-room school had a number of parliamentarians who graduated from that school. We fixed the building up to a wonderful new building, but it isn't named after anyone. So we have to start considering what we're going to do within our communities. It's good to do things on a national level, but we have to consider what we're going to do within our communities so that young people who come up in those communities get to know the people who have significant ties there. And when you do that, then you send a message to them and you show them where they can achieve high goals in life.
You're so true.
So I think we have to consider how we're going to do that as a nation. Yeah. But Phil Galanis, his name ought to be prominently remembered in this country, in the Angliston community that he served for so many years, and at a national level where people can see it and remember him, because you don't want someone to pass away and then that's the end of it. You don't have something significant where you see on a regular basis and you know this is someone. And I had this challenge in the Ministry of Education. I would go to any number of schools And I expected when I go into school to see the name of the person who that school is named after. The government has this initiative where we name schools after persons who made significant contributions to education. Mm-hmm. And I remember when Anatole Rogers was open. Anatole Rogers was my principal at GHS. And I remember when the school was open, and I went there. And I started asking some of the students about Anatole Rogers.
No idea.
And they couldn't tell me. Mm-hmm. So the same way we're speaking about the Phil Galanis, we have to remember these giants. How do we incorporate them into the memory, into the knowledge base of our young people, so that they can move ahead with pride and understand the contributions that these people have made?
You're right. It is only at that time we'll have a greater appreciation for the shoulders we stand on.
Yes.
Because the country just seems to be sort of shifting aimlessly because, again, we don't have those core things to identify us. And so you're so right about that, even if only in the small Stanyard Creek.
No, Stanyard Creek is a home of giants, so.
Even in the big, if only in the big Stanyard Creek, start there by naming anything substantive.
Yeah, we have one of the most modern bridges in the country, but it's not named after anyone, and we ought to start considering that.
I agree.
And not only that though, but to be able to share the history, share who these people are, share what they've done. When you're talking about contributions in different professional areas, who is a Shanique Miller? There's someone you saw every night on TV. She has roots. She's come from Eleuthera. She has made her contributions, significant career contributions in this profession. When she decides to retire, what is there going to be out there to tell young Bahamians, the young girl in Eleuthera, who wants to be able to follow in her footsteps? And so these are critical areas that we have to think about.
No, we must think about it because, I mean, I certainly don't want to drag the week here, but we know certainly we started this week. My God, it's just been a heavy week. We started this week speaking of the passing of Darrell Miller, and just as you were saying right now, who was he? Yeah. How will he be remembered? Because he also made significant contributions to broadcasting, had his own unique style and did it as he did it. But certainly the impact was no less significant, and how he showed up.
Yeah, and Darrell was one of the big boys in my high school. And he used to come to school with I don't know if you all remember, you're too young to remember. We used to go to school with these starched shirts. Darrell used to have those starched shirts. You walk around and you saw him take pride in what he did. But every island
you guys went to school together?
He was a big boy to me, like Les Miller.
Oh.
But every community you go into in this island, I've met Darrell in many family island communities. And he knows everyone. He knows the whole community.
Yes.
So again, and you've raised a wonderful example. How do we remember Darrell Miller, his contributions, and how do we teach our young people who was this Darrell Miller, and what his contributions were, and how you could follow in his footsteps?
Thank you very much, former Deputy Prime Minister Desmond Bannister. I tie you to education, but also former Minister of Works. You did a significant amount of work in education, but former Minister of Works as well. Thank you very, very much. A family member of Philip Galanis, a friend of Philip Galanis, and here remembering Philip Galanis this evening. The two of them appeared right on the show about a year ago, talking about and discussing what they love best, each of them, politics. That was, of course, the by-election in West, Grand Bahama, and Bimini. Thank you once again, and don't be a stranger. You must come back and discuss some national issues. The invitation is open. So certainly, thank you once again this evening. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, and let's continue to uplift these Bahamian heroes who have done so much for our country.
Absolutely. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Get ready to win Lucky Bucks. Wherever you see this taxi, flag it down.
The boy hard, beating so hard, but I will be hard with what here. I'm looking for my first contestant to ride in the Lucky Taxi. You walk in the taxi, you got to do the Lucky Walk, man. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Man, thank you, sir. 85 times 2 is how much, brother? You leave with $170, brother.
I never expected to win as much as I win.
Bang along.
Very excited when the gentleman picked me to ride inside the taxi.
So if I had to choose a game that would stay, it would be Island of Taxi.
You could be next on the Island Lucky Taxi.
You wouldn't believe that number I just played dropping quick 4. This 5K can come and clutch, my boy.
So you ain't had the mega ball on that?
You know mega ball on quick 4, my man.
Oh, okay then.
Mega Ball, now available on Quick 4. Multiply your winnings with the only 4-ball game that pays $20,000. With a draw every 30 minutes, your chances to win are mega.
I bet you I could beat you running into this long ball.
I bet you my drink will come out before yours. Well.
I bet you I could hold my breath longer.
Bet.
Hey, wait.
If it can happen, you can bet it. So why not bet with us? The Bahamas' #1 online casino, lottery, and sportsbook. We bet you won't find bigger payouts anywhere else. But IslandLuck.com. Winners live here.
Looking for that perfect carpet happy hour experience? Forge connections, fuel success, and feel the beat. Join 103.5 The Beat each and every Friday at Club Waterloo. RSVP now, limited spots available.
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines on Weekend Review Fridays here. It's been quite a week, hasn't it? We're going to continue this evening with the Weekend Review Hot Topics panel. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Leslie Miller and Ellington Ferguson. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you. On Fridays we try to, while we review the biggest stories of that week, we certainly try to do so in a way that lifts the spirit up. But we start this segment on a sad note. You all certainly know that this morning Philip Galanis passed away. I believe he was about 70 years old. We saw 72. We saw in the first segment Desmond Bannister, who was a family member, but a colleague and a friend, and they were here last. And I thought it fit, of course, former Deputy Prime Minister, to have him here because he shared this space with Philip Galanis a year ago, as they both talked about the by-election and called it and gave analysis and that kind of thing and projections during that special broadcast. Gentlemen, I want to give you each an opportunity for us to kind of talk about Philip Galanis and how over the years he really became very middle of the road, middle ground, politically speaking, and quite objective, so that his thoughts and opinions and what he thought about politics became really highly regarded.
Shanique, Philip Galanis, I've come to know, is one of those gentlemen in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, like Desmond rightfully put it. So one of the giants, some of the people that sometimes goes unnoticed. However, he continued even after politics to make his mark here in the country with his weekly column in the dailies. And very, like you say, very middle of the road, a piece that speaks to the national development. And like former Prime Minister rightfully said, he was never emotional about his contributions. Okay, he could speak to either side, and he was very persuasive, like he said. But a very, very strong gentleman. Prime Minister Davis said it rightly so. A life well lived and a legacy that has made an indelible mark on this country. And we need to make sure that we document these things, these journey along our history, so that we can be able to inspire, so that we can be able to uplift, create a clear path for the development and the future of this country. There are many other great men. Philip Galanis is either in the Progressive Liberal Party, the Free National Movement. Some are not even involved in frontline politics.
Yeah.
But we have many men like that, and we need to make sure that those unsung heroes are made unknown here in our country.
You know, Phil Galanis was first elected 1982, taking Sir Clifford Darling's seat in Angleton. He was a very vocal member of Parliament. He was a very brilliant young Bahamian too. Got a CPA at a very early age and got elected to Parliament in his early 30s. You know, and served a term in Parliament. Run a very good firm for about almost 35 years. He had his own firm. He separated from working for the foreigners and set his own firm in Meadow West and did some brilliant businesses. He was known to many business persons around the world. Went to the university in the United States and was a very successful person. I want to give my sincerest condolences to his wife, his children, his brothers and those who happened to be one of my constituents when I was a member of Parliament. Both of them. His father was a good friend of mine. He used to be the top man at Britannia Towers in engineering for about 20, 30 years on Paradise Island. He was the chief engineer. In fact, Ms. Galana is a very nice person. And he brought his children up with a sense of nationalistic worthwhile to advance the country as well as themselves. And his motto was always, if you do good, by extension, the country will do good, because you're going to make a contribution whether you like it or not. And Phil was that type of person, very amenable, easygoing, tell a lot of jokes, but he's a very serious politician. He had an insight into what our future should be. He was appointed to lead the commission for the futuristic development of the Bahamas. He's still the chairman, in fact, today.
Yes, he died.
Of that committee as chairman. And they're now almost completing their work. I think some new members would probably be added to the team, saying that the government is now interested in economic diversification and expansion of the economy. But he was a very likable person. Wife is a wonderful lady, his children. And may his soul rest in peace. He made his contribution to our country, and we thank him for it. He was a stern member of Parliament, did a wonderful job for the good people that he had the pleasure of representing, and he was stern to all members of Parliament. He would call you if he see you did something wrong in Parliament or you said something that should not have been said. He would correct you. On his weekly columns in one of the daily newspapers, he said what he wanted to say on a national level to make life better for Bahamians everywhere. So we certainly going to miss his contribution to us on a national level. May his soul rest in peace.
Absolutely,
Wonderful.
gentlemen. Wonderful words for someone I knew as well as a reporter, and then now as a host in this space, in terms of sort of being a part of the narrative and creating the narrative, you know, and so the relationship was different now with the person that I knew, Philip Galanis. And so again, as you both said, thoughts and prayers to his family. Gentlemen, another incident this week that it has the nation baffled, really, and it brings up so many questions about mental health, emotional health, depression, where the nation stands, hopelessness, etc. But let's just start right on what this 8-year-old alleged suicide says, if you all would remember and have been watching closely for the last several weeks, the Minister of Health has said that this year alone there's been over 400 attempted suicides. Over 400 attempted suicides. Now here it is, an 8-year-old. Again, this investigation is new, it's fresh. We don't know if it was maybe kids playing games, if he was, whatever it is, the point is a family is mourning tonight because an 8-year-old boy, their loved one, is no longer with them. How do we even begin to process that to then talk about an 8-year-old committing suicide?
The hard reality is, Shanique, mental illness has no color, no age, no race. In this unfortunate situation, these family mourning, and my heart goes out to them, extend my condolences to them also. This is something that we must look at seriously in this country. We must ensure that people that are dealing with issues know and understand that there is help. You don't have to go it alone. We need to ensure that we pay attention to the signs and not just take it for granted that someone is just playing around or they're not serious. People having struggles, you gotta, if you can't help them, you've got to be able to point them in the right direction, because you'll find out later on that it was more serious than you thought. And this is been happening all too often. We just have a report on the news today that someone else attempted to do it again. They did not give a whole lot of details about it, but we've got to...
It's becoming all too frequent.
We've got to not let this, after the week and this is over and then we forget about it. Let's begin to have a continued awareness. Let's make sure that our people understand that you're not alone in whatever you're dealing with. There is help.
I believe the question to all Bahamians tonight is, how do you quantify the mindset of an 8-year-old that they would attempt to take their life? I am told today by the experts that some of the games that they have on TikTok and these other, I don't know what the hell you call them, things on WhatsApp and what have you, defies logic, and it pushes young children and young adults,
yes,
to take this chance. My sister was telling me, who was a guidance counselor, that they actually have these things on WhatsApp where they dare you to follow what someone else would have done. And in this case, they dared somebody to put a rope or a belt around their neck just to show you how it's done. Now, it is said that the little child, because how could a kid, 8 years old, for God's sake, I mean, the kid he didn't intend to take his life.
No,
he doesn't have the capacity mentally to take his life.
Yeah, probably
I think we all got to accept that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it had to be an accidental as to what took place. And apparently, he put the belt over the chain or what have you.
There's nobody there to rescue.
No one there, and it just happened.
It happened.
But imagine that poor parent and his brother who saw him in the room. What is his brothers and sisters and family members going through now?
Traumatized.
That before he began life, it is taken. I mean, but thank God, God knows everything, and he's now back with his maker. It's just, we have to do better. And I think some of the things that we allow our kids and grandchildren to watch on these video sites, we need to stop it. Right now, I'm told that TikTok
has
over
call the name too much.
1,000 lawsuits that is pending.
Don't call the name too much of the app, because I can't be sued.
Companies in the United States and elsewhere for getting in the minds of these young children and causing them to do grave harm to themselves. A lot of young girls are committing suicide throughout the United States and the world.
Well, that is because
of what they see.
It's a whole lot happening there. That's bullying.
It's a very trying time.
It's social bullying on social media.
Yes.
It is a whole lot that's happening, and it also speaks to the mindset again, the emotional health and stability of today's human. It seems to have been somewhat, I don't know, shattered. People just need a little more, or they can't take as much. And I'm not saying that bullying is okay, because it was never okay. When people back then, I know Pastor Mario Moxie gave an example last evening, when they figure in the Bahamas, it's been known, and you just kind of sort of swallow hard and move on, like, get your picky head, get your black self, your big nose. What I'm saying is those things were never okay. But in today's world, today's youth certainly cannot absorb that. And nobody ever could. But somehow others of a different generation worked through it. But that is not okay. Also, I'll tell you this, Ellington, you spoke about when you feel something, a need to speak with someone, do so. I'll tell you what mental health is. Mental health is this: annually, quarterly, however the frequency needs or schedule needs to be for you, you must speak with someone. We all need that, because we all on some balance of something. Life is tough. Look in the Bahamas around you. There are growing numbers of homeless people. There are growing numbers of people who are showing up at the various food, the food distribution centers, looking for food, looking for a hot plate of food. The fact is, people can barely survive and pay their bills. Then last evening, a lady called into this show from Eleuthera, and she talked about the fact that they had no power from 8:15 until after 8 last night as we were on the air. So therefore, no business happened in the area that she was. So what I'm saying, people are so tense, stressed, and figuring, okay, I have this amount of money set to be made today, but then they can't make it, or they're looking forward to some payment or some whatever it is, and it didn't come. All of this piles on and creates the issues for people.
I'll say this, Shanique, and I almost fell into that same thing that I mentioned about not taking what people say for granted. Just a few months ago, right here in Nassau, I had a friend called me, and he was distraught, and I was like, what's going on? And he's just crying and distraught. And I said, bro, look here, everything's going to be good. And I chat with him for a minute, and I say a prayer with him, bang, bang, bang. And today, he holds me like a hero. He said, boy, you saved my life. You don't know, boy, I was about to commit suicide.
People are on the edge.
I just couldn't believe that he was at that level. And so, again, do not push people away. Do not take people for granted when you see them struggling. You see a person having an issue. It could be a brother, a sister, a friend, a colleague, a co-worker, or even little children. Leslie drew the idea about these social networks. We've got to talk to our little children who's using these networks.
Because a lot of it is AI.
Absolutely.
Right. You know what I mean?
We've got to have a conversation with them so that we can let them know, don't follow
AI,
all of this is not real. This is not real life.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, your life is important. Don't play with this. Don't play with that. Sometimes you've got to go with them while they're watching these things and explain these things to them, because they're like little sponge, and they absorb these things and they just take it to be real life. So we've got to be involved in our children's lives also.
We too have got to be very discerning now of what it is that we ingest and what we watch. Social media is an incredible thing, awesome, and the various platforms that one of which was mentioned here this evening, they're all excellent, whether it's for stress relief, to laugh and find a joke, to be informed through news, to be informed through various bits of information. But even with that, you gotta also kind of part and say, that's not for me, but that is. That's for me, that's not. You've got to now take charge of what it is that you do on social media, what you look at, what you participate in, what you take seriously or give attention to. It's all very, very important. And so, in the coming weeks, or certainly ahead, months, I will certainly give attention to mental health. I did it before on The Conversation, and I had a series going. I think it's needed again, particularly when we hear the increasing numbers of people attempting suicide. Also, when you hear someone also say this, sometimes you need that company, but when you hear someone say, give me a moment, no, it's okay, I'm good, but just leave me alone. Do not go and clutter that person.
No, allow them.
Also, give them their space. Because Bahamians could work. Anyway, listen, what we can do, we can take a break, and when we come back, we're going to speak about a 71-year-old fisherman who has found himself on the wrong side of the law. We're backward after this.
$250,000 fine?
Yes, sir.
How good?
Bahamas, are you ready? Keep the vibe alive. Music group, along with Alpha Sounds, present the best of the best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded. This is the biggest one-day all-Bahamian concert of the year. Featuring KB, D-Mac, Abby, Mama D, Fan Sean, Shine 242, The Falcon, and more. Mark your calendars. It's going down November the 2nd at Super Club Races Ground. Tickets now available at BahamasEtickets.com or both Beauty Shack locations. General admission $60. VIP, Skybox, and Skypods also available. For more info, call 394-0819 or email keepthevibealive242@gmail.com. Experience the magic once again with more legends for one night only. Come party with us November 2nd at Best of the Best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded.
Tired of driving around from place to place just to get your car insured and licensed? Frustrated with the process of being back and forth from your insurance company to road traffic? Well, BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers just made insuring and licensing your motor vehicle as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Visit us at the Road Traffic Department, Section 1, Thomas A. Robinson Sports Stadium. At our office, you can purchase or renew your insurance or get your vehicle inspected. We at BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers represent major carriers. Step 2. See the professionals at Road Traffic to get your vehicle licensed. Step 3. Enjoy your day. Insure with BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers today, saving you time and money. Your one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Great rates, convenient, excellent service. For more information, call us at 322-2221.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Listen, we were discussing during the break, so we're going to get to the story. So here's the story. A man 71 years old is awaiting, and this is in one of the dailies, is awaiting sentencing for a fishing violation. And what that violation is, let me just read a brief excerpt, right? A 71-year man is awaiting sentencing after he admitted to employing a foreigner to work on his fishing vessel. Stanley DeVoe pleaded guilty to prohibited commercial fishing by a non-Bahamian who, when he appeared before Senior Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson, that's this week. The prosecutor, yada, 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 it goes on to say. Now, here's it where I want to get to, because I'll tell you. Okay, McVean, McVean is the prosecutor. DeVoe faces, here's what the law says. The law says these offenses carry a maximum fine of $250,000. You all get that, and 4 years imprisonment. This 71-year-old man trying to fish. But this is what it carries. Now, given the circumstances, McVeigh, the prosecutor, suggested to the court that the court fine DeVoe $10,000 instead, and place him on probation for 3 years. So that means if he's on probation, maybe he can't fish, and certainly can't hire an illegal immigrant. In response, DeVoe said he cannot afford to pay the $10,000. He cannot.
Is this for his infraction or what?
Let me finish reading. Listen. So he said, and he can't do it all at once. Certainly, he asked the judge to let him pay in installments. But y'all, let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. Yes, the man break the law. The man had. Did it say which nationality?
I think it said Dominican Republic.
I don't remember, but if it did, okay, Dominican. The man had this person helping him on the boat. First of all, let's talk about the fact that how could he have found a helper here that he could depend on? A Bahamian then. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily know it just based on what others are saying, though, on construction sites and all these other areas. Listen, local help is hard to find. Now, this is his first infraction, Leslie. He told them that, listen, he's never crossed the law. He also needs to travel because on probation, he can't move.
Right.
So he needs to travel because he goes to the U.S. for medical treatment. The 71-year-old man is facing this $10,000 fine and 3 years probation. What do you all think about that?
And the thing is, the judge could use their discretion, and if this is a case where the judge think it merit the full maximum fine, the judge has the discretion to do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's going to be done. I hope it's not done. It's a funny situation to be caught in, as you see a lot of time our brothers down. See, because you got to be careful how you say this now, because on the one hand, it's a 70-year-old man who can't probably find help,
71.
and then on the other hand, you got our brothers who is in the major part of the commercial fishing down in Spanish Wells and the Abaco and those, Long Island, and they often complain to the government about these foreigners coming here on vessels, and also Bahamian hiring foreigners to work on their vessels.
Now let's be real. I feel people in parts, thank you, because people in parts of Eleuthera, like Spanish Wells, like Long Island, they are industrious, hard-working men. They can go on, they can park their boats, and they can go on the waters. For the individual fishing man, like this gentleman, DeVoe, who perhaps want to go and still be active and make money and go fishing, where he can find this reliable help?
Well, first of all, most of the owners who own these boats don't ever ply their boats. They send people out on their boats. And when you send Bahamians out, I don't want to be insensitive about them, but half of the time when you come back, you get half of the damn catch, because they go from one spot to the next, and by the time I was in the fishing business with a friend of mine.
They don't make their sales.
Let me tell you something.
Then they
go and sell half of the fish.
Then they come to share the half what they bring between you and them.
They still looking to pay. They get paid from the half they bring.
None of them could go more than 3 to 4 days because they're going to be in Nassau to watch the woman. The white fella could go on the boat for 2-3 weeks, and that's why he's so succcul.
Yes.
The black Bahamian, he ain't going to be out there more than 3 days. He got to come back and go.
Where you is?
Yeah, and that phone don't ring. He down swim to Nassau. That's the problem. No, it is a problem.
No, it is. It's a legitimate problem. It really is.
I agree. It's a problem finding employment in employees in certain sector. That's a challenge for especially smaller employees.
It is.
But hopefully we can strike a balance, and maybe we can make it more the process more simpler for these smaller entrepreneurs to be able to get the assistance that they need.
10,000 is a hefty fine.
It is, and we know. I mean, we have heard the construction industry. In fact, who do they have employed? Let's just be real. If you can come down to this one man right here, go to the major construction companies. The people don't even speak English.
The problem we have is Bahamians don't go looking for no job.
No, they don't.
In the construction field, we have to face it. We have to be fair. The Haitians, I could call a buddy of mine right now. And I said, man, I got plenty of work to do on Saturday. And he'd bring you 10 fellas. You could go on any block, East Street, the Grove, Camp Road, and tell the fellas, listen, man, I need to be on here 7 o'clock. Ain't none of them can show. Not a damn one will call you.
No.
They got no interest in working. Mm-hmm. And we have to get a new mindset with our fellas that's how you lose in your country. Because the man taking over your working force. Ain't a woman want no broke fella who ain't got nothing to offer her except to sleep with her.
You
Go
gotta-
find a job, find a trade, and be productive, and take care of your children.
A lot of them sit
And all
on
of them got children.
Sit under the tree and then
Okay,
just
sit on the blocks.
talk, and cry out. The government
but they
need to
don't
do
wanna
this.
work.
The government need to do that. The government need to do that.
Go and learn a
Be
trade.
industrious.
And fishing is a good thing.
It is.
Very
But you
good
got to be
thing.
prepared to do it.
It is.
Okay,
It
and I
is.
hope that the judge would be lenient with the man. 10,000 to me is more than sufficient. If this is first in infraction.
Yeah.
And try to get some payments to go. But I know they ain't got more than 3 days.
Yeah, because
It ain't gonna happen.
No, because then who could this man trust
gonna
too?
happen.
As you all said, you've heard that as well. You have heard
Yeah.
the fact that listen, when you go out and especially if you give you give your vessel to be used,
Yes.
you getting half of the catch.
At the most.
And of the half of the catch, you
Then-
still got to pay out of that half.
And if you get half, consider the guy a decent fella. Because most of them ain't gonna bring back half. They can stop to every little port and sell half of your damn stuff. And when he come to get his pay, he now wants you to pay him for the
Pay him
gas.
full.
What do you say? Use.
Pay him full.
It's a hell of a thing. Now that's why you see
challenge.
our white brothers, who we gotta love and respect, from the family islands, they go on their boat themselves.
Listen to me. They
and
stick.
They teach their children.
Thank you. They stick together.
Yes. To fish.
When you go on Spanish
Okay.
Wells, and you all know this, if you go to Spanish Wells to have to get to Harbor Island, you see who driving the ferry
Yes.
boats and all those other
Yes.
boats and the
Yes.
fishing
Yes.
vessels.
Yes.
Only Spanish Wells
Yeah, the
men.
brothers.
You know why?
Yes.
Because for the son travel with his father, watch
Yes.
his father train
Yes.
by us, and
And
it
he
goes like
takes
that.
it
And they earn a hell of a good living.
Exactly. And they,
Yes.
listen, they are very
Live a
wealthy.
hell of a life.
Very
They-
successful.
They are
with it.
wealthy.
Right? Most of them
They're wealthy.
could take home $250,000 a year from the fishing season. Most of them, and they live a hell of a life.
Yes, they
but
do.
our fellas just don't have the fortitude to go on the water and earn a living. And then you want to blame somebody else. Be a man, step to the plate, man. Take care of your children. Go and get a trade. If not, the fellas can take your country from you.
Let's
When they
go,
take your country,
Bahamian
they take
man,
the
let's
down
go.
woman with them too.
You've
Because
gotta
ain't
be
nobody want no
industrious.
broke fella who can't have take care of nobody. Who the hell need a broke man? I trying to see if I get a
Speaking of
woman
mental
got a
health,
couple of dollars.
Leslie, you gonna have to hush your mouth. You gonna have to talk on, shut up, because you're and what you bring into the table with that.
Plenty of them around,
You know something got money? Got the port cake here, I ain't got much, but
Lean over.
huh? I give you what I could.
Lean
I
where?
give you what I could.
Lean, I don't know where he leaning. Ellington, lean where? Jesus, let me wrap this show up. Let me wrap this show. Listen, you all, of course, this weekend we have what used to be Discovery Day, I think is now National Heroes Day coming up.
They got a concert on Monday.
Yes, with the Bahamian entertainer. What's his
Now,
name?
Bishop was Bahamian is down. People wrote a Trinidad name. Talking about Bahamians. Bahamians can be second.
Who's the headliner? The headliner is the who?
The headliner
port.
is the who?
No,
I talk about the port. The port is with our buddy there. One of our great songwriters.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a major
But
concert.
they got another concert
Yeah,
for Monday.
I think we've been promoting that. Shh.
And that's been promoted.
Yeah. So
Yes.
listen, I just want to say, as we look at this National
I hear,
Heroes,
but no KB and none of the brothers.
as we look at this National Heroes Discovery Day.
That's on Monday. In fact.
Yes, Monday.
I got an
Yes.
invitation from Mother Pratt and them today for the people who are being honored.
So listen, did you show up,
on
Leslie?
Monday.
So listen, on Monday. Okay, Monday.
Yeah.
I want to give each of you an opportunity to talk about just Bahamian pride and the fact that we all need to aspire. We talk about the work ethics of many men. It's so many Bahamians are just falling right there and forgetting that Bahamian pride that once defined us. And I'll give you each an opportunity as we wrap up this segment to sort of reflect on National Heroes in Discovery Day and really just Bahamian pride and what it needs to be now moving forward.
Bahamian pride is something that I've always thought that we give little credence to. But I think young men, and I want to appeal especially to young men in this country, that you ought to stand up, be accounted for. The country, the Bahamas, must know that you're here. We must feel you by your contribution, by how you handle yourself firstly, how you take care of your family and those around you. We have a nation to build. This is not a nation for the Progressive Liberal Party to build, for the Free National Party and their members to build. This is a nation that all of us must rise up, put our hand to the wheel. You have something to do. You have a part to play. You must play your part. You must love and respect this country. This country has given you a beautiful place to live. You must love that. That must mean something to you. We have our national symbols. We talk about the Philip Galanis a while ago. National role models, hopefully young politicians that are starting out as early as he started out. We got a lot of young politicians now. Emulate, read about his life, study his life, and let's go ahead and let's build the Bahama land. Let's be industrious. Let's work. Let's stop looking for the free thing. That's why we got all these scams coming, because so many people are looking for this free thing where you won $1 million or our company rewarding you, so just give me information. Too much people want free things. Let us rise up and build.
First and foremost, we should thank the Right Honorable Prairie Gladstone Christie for changing that holiday on the 12th of October from Columbus Day. Here we were, an enslaved people. This guy didn't even know where the hell he was. He thought he was in one part of the world, and here he was in the Bahamas. Came and enslaved our people and brutalized our people. And when we were here honoring this man, as Columbus discovered the Bahamas, he didn't discover nobody because we were here. We were here. And I'm so glad that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of the Bahamas, which I was a part of, and the Parliament and the Bahamian people now recognize that we have come into our own as a people, that we could recognize Bahamians who made a contribution to advance our lives over the last 100 years of our lives and made us what we are, made us a proud people. Still have problems that we're facing, but the world is facing similar problems that we have. But it was the Christie that made that decision in the Cabinet of the Bahamas that we will not have Christopher Columbus Day. We would honor our own people who made a contribution, because he made no contribution to us. He took our people from here to Hispaniola and had them as slaves. As far as I'm concerned, the guy never should have existed, okay? He could go to hell about 10 times over. But we now have to show the next generation of Bahamians who are coming up that this is your country.
Absolutely.
You have to step to the plate and make that contribution. Get off the blocks, for Christ's sake. Get off the blocks. 60% of you all still on the blocks. Go and find meaningful work. So Lyndon say, if you don't love your country, you don't take care of it, they can take it from you now. And I see our country being taken from the young Bahamians every day of my life. And it bothers me as a person, former member of Parliament and a nationalist. You all got to stop to the plate, fellas, and the women too.
Yes.
Go and be somebody.
Yes.
Because whether you like it or not, the future of this country belongs to y'all, not us. We on the way out. Y'all on the way up. And if you don't hold on to it, they can take it from you. Listen to what's Lyndon and men and women like Mr. Adahana, Dame Doris Johnson, Carlton Francis, Cecil Wallace Whitfield. They're the ones who struggled and gave their whole life for us. Appreciate what they did and make a contribution. That's all I have to tell you.
Land of
the future is yours.
Take advantage.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much, and to all of you, happy National Heroes Day. Of course, that happens on Monday, and as they said, so well and eloquent, each of them. Listen, dare to dream, but also there must be a space for you as you dream. It should not be something that's hindered or blocked. And so therefore allow each Bahamian to really dream and maximize their potential and move forward as we all fly that flag proudly.
Yes.
And determine and define what those colors mean individually for us moving forward for this beautiful nation of ours. And so, happy Heroes Day on behalf of the entire Beyond the Headlines team, and certainly, of course, these wonderful gentlemen here. I want to thank all of you for tuning in all week long. We certainly enjoyed having you along, and we look forward to seeing you right back here on Tuesday. For the entire team, once again, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a blessed weekend, everyone.
And God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
God bless.